Hi guys, welcome back to the Bull Talks with Big Jim podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I am Bo. I got with me my dad, Big Jim, and a very special guest today, the CEO and owner of his own little design company, Joel of Munoz Diseños, right? Oh, no, I said it wrong again.
Diseños.
Diseños, Munoz Diseños. And for the white guys, kind of like myself, that is Munoz Designs. So obviously, today's topic is going to be a little more heavy, to say the very least. It's something that's going around right now in the U.S. that wasn't getting talked about, and if it wasn't made clear with the background, we are going to talk about the fallen soldier, Vanessa Guillen. Real quick, Joel, you posted a lot of different things on your Instagram about her, and you were very interested in doing this. What made you want to jump on today and kind of talk about her?
I mean, more so the fact that, in the Latino communities, like, especially with today's revolutions, like, or like the protests and everything that's going on, Latinos, we've been supporting the Black Lives Movement. I've been supportive of it, but it's like, it just sucks because I can't really say like, oh, I know how they feel, because I felt, discrimination just towards, my culture, and, for like Blacks, it's just a bit different. But then, seeing this, it's, I can feel for her family, and it just kind of feels like we lost one of our own. Being in the United States, it's different for people of Latino culture. It's like, we struggle to fit in with our own kind, and we also struggle to fit in with the United States. Like, it's like we were fighting two different wars, and it's like Vanessa, she was, trying to protect her country, so she was fighting to be accepted as an American citizen. And then something like this goes on, and it's just like, man, like, it really it holds. It kind of feels like, whenever someone in the Latino community dies, it's like everybody, whether you know them or not, it's like you get hit by it. I was talking to my mom about it, and then she just was devastated. She was like, I can't believe that happened, especially to a woman, Latino woman, like the best. And we come here because we want to work, and then, this type of shit happens. And what just hurts the most is just the fact that it wasn't revealed on the news or anything. It was revealed through social media. So it's
Right.
like a lot of people don't even know about this story. So, and then, it's just better to spread the word. And, right now, with the Black Lives Movement, it's shining light on, what's happening on the Latino culture. And it's, to me, it's like, I feel great because now there's like, light is being shined on this, because, I felt discrimination to a certain degree too. And, you know, just like how the Blacks have been, discriminated for years. And now that the light is shining over to Latinos too, it's time for us to stand up and do something about this. And, what happened to Vanessa, it's just shouldn't have happened, because especially with being in the army, they should be taking care of their own kind. So just trying to cover up the story just to make themselves look good.
Right. And kind of playing off of what you just said, Dad, I'm going to ask you the same question. What, because when Joel said that, within the Latino community, we kind of struggle with getting along with our own culture, with our own people. What kind of made you want to chime in on that? Is that something that you may have experienced in the past?
Well, no,
Yeah,
of course. Of course. I mean, I'm 50 years old. I don't know how old Joel is, but he obviously has a much older soul than what's showing right now. So I congratulate you for being so brave
Thanks.
about talking about that. And he's absolutely right. There's no more prejudice amongst any other culture. I mean, us Chicanos and Mexicans or any other Southern Americans, there's more in our own culture. And that's something that's not really talked about unless you're in a group. And, there's always going to be jokes talking about you being a Chicano or a Pocho or a Gringo or, a Beaner or a Spic or, Mexicano from wherever. And he's right. It's hard to hear that, especially when you're growing up. Like me, I went to an all-white high school. I was one of 10 Mexicans there. And maybe looked Mexican, wanted to be Mexican because that's all they knew. Now, granted, the other ones, they were educated. I know a couple of them. One went off to be a doctor. One's a geneticist. One's a biologist. So they are smart and intelligent. Not to take anything less from us. My family, they're dirt farmers. My family grew up in the fields,
Right.
and they still do it. And so, yeah, I commend you on talking about something like that at your age. It's kind of tough to talk about. But the subject at hand, with Vanessa, I told you a couple of weeks ago when you wanted to talk about it that I actually ignored it. I ignored the whole subject, the whole news thing. Like you said, the whole BLM was such a hot topic, and it still is. And when I first seen her face on the TV, I was just like, man, I hope she's not. I hope she just took off. I hope she went AWOL. I hope she's kicking it in Juarez or St. Padres Beach in Texas, doing something. Just don't be dead. And then you started talking to me more and more about it, and I'm not going to lie. I ignored it as much as I could until 2 nights ago. And then I've read more on the internet and seen more interaction on websites than on the media. So on television, main media.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna play off of what you just said, because same thing. A couple weeks ago, you and I spoke about the riots over in Berkeley, and I kind of asked you what was the difference between those. And at the time when the looting was happening, this was right after George Floyd died, and God rest his soul. And this kind of plays on it too. Now, same thing. I didn't want to read up on it to find out something bad. I didn't want to look up any information because, look at her. She's
beautiful,
a kid,
man. Yeah, she's beautiful. And you know what? Before you go any further, that young lady, I was listening to a Spanish station and hearing her mom talk, and she used to dress up as a soldier as a kid.
Yeah.
She used to dress up in military fatigue, and that shit, I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna make me cry now. But to listen to that and to hear that this young, beautiful woman has bigger balls than me, because I didn't go to the military. That's one thing Grandma said: no military, no gangs. Now you couldn't force me to go to a military, but just for her, in her mindset, like Joel said, she wanted to be a part of the United States. Yeah. I don't know, was she born here or was she born in Mexico? Do you know, Joel?
Yeah, I heard she was born here.
Okay, so she's from Texas. She's from Houston, so she's a Tejana. She has probably more, like I said, she was just brave. To be a little kid, to dress in military fatigues and want to be a soldier and to represent a country that, doesn't think too kindly of us Hispanics. Yeah, she's brave. She's got big balls, bigger balls, and yeah.
Yeah, and more so that I know, whenever someone's like, in the forces or in the police, it really makes parents proud, because not only proud that they accomplished their goal or dreams, but it's kind of like in their mind when they see their child, they're like, all right, they're accepted. When they hope that, being in that position, when they walk down the street, people gonna be like, oh, salute, you got my respect. Oh, you're an officer. You're there to protect the law. You're an army. You're here to protect us. It's like, that's what parents feel. They feel a sense of pride in their child for accomplishing their dream and being all right, cool. Now they have respect. Like, we came here with nothing and we were given nothing, and now our children have everything. And people are looking up to them. And like I said, watching the videos on her mom, it's killing her. And it's horrible just because she let her daughter say, hey, that's what you want to be, I support you. And the next thing you know, they couldn't find her body, and it was dismembered when they did. And that's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.
And the way they did it. Yeah. And the way they did it. But yeah, no, I
So-
agree. You know, it's a representation of their name. You know, my daughter, Guillen, now she represents us as a family. Now I don't know if her dad, is he around, or 'cause I've
Everything
never
that
seen a picture of her
yeah,
dad.
everything that I saw from online, because like you said too, nothing still to this day
Just her
is
mom and her sister.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
both of her sisters. She has two sisters.
Right. Right. So yeah, it's a representation, and we're representing my, you know, like I tell you and your brother all the time, you know, your brother mainly, you know, what have I achieved? I'm like, well, fuck, you're 23, you got a job, new car, you're not strung out, you're not in jail, and you have a 740 credit score. What more do you want? You know, at that
Yeah.
point, you have a lot going on for you. You've lived, you know, like I said, bringing him back here to Oakland was one of the biggest things we feared when we lived in Arizona.
Yeah.
You know, he's got 6 years of street knowledge under his belt now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, continue.
So as I said, this is going to be this is going to be hard. I'm not going to lie. When I was reading up on everything, because again, like we've all said, everything that we've known about her and found about her was through Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was on social media. Everything, YouTube.
I actually found out through Chingle Bling through his podcast.
I found out through Salma Hayek.
There you go.
Through Salma Hayek.
Yeah.
So, which I'll be getting to.
Go ahead.
So real quick before we go any further, there is a quick fact check that I want to cover. The last episode that we did, the Gypsy Hill murders. Come to find out, I was wrong, and I did not do my research very well. Turns out both men, Leon Seymour and Rodney Halborough, are actually both still alive, except they are serving 2 life sentences.
So regardless, they're not going to get charged for any.
Yeah.
It's no need. Well, there's no closure for the family, but yeah, they're not going to spend money on that trial.
And there's still no closure for the 2 that were unnamed or unsolved, technically.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So this is all the information that I was able to grab currently, and I even postponed this whole thing last week, which honestly I'm glad I did, because there's a few more things that have come out recently. So,
yeah, a couple.
On July 1st, 2020, the Fort Hood officials announced that one suspect was in custody, and another suspect had committed suicide in relations to the disappearance of this young lady behind me, Vanessa Guillen. The 2 were suspected to be in connection with the disappearance, and as a result, her body was found early on July. Vanessa Guillen was born September 30th, 1999 in Houston, Texas. She was a soccer player, a avid track and field star in high school before coming into the U.S. military. She left behind a mother and 2 sisters. On her left arm, there was a tattoo of a cross with a flower. On the same arm, there was another flower, and on her left shoulder, was a tattoo of a mountain with a circle above it. And Joel, as you mentioned before, when Vanessa was a very young child, she would dress up in uniform and wanted to be a part of the United States Army. She eventually was able to do so. She got into the Army. This is her photo here. She was a private first class when she got there, and she worked in the armory, on small arms. As a small arms repairer, so she would fix most of the pistols and some of the submachine guns that they had there.
A gunsmith.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, she was a gunsmith.
Yeah.
And thanks to multiple people, but the 2 main ones were the U.S. Representative of Texas of the 29th District, Sylvia Garcia, and Salma Hayek. Vanessa's story came to light. In the beginning of April, Vanessa's mother, Gloria, felt something was wrong when she spoke on the phone with her daughter. Vanessa told her that she was being sexually harassed by one of her sergeants. With fear of being blackballed or reprimanded for snitching, quote unquote, she told her mom not to say anything to anybody and to also did not want to report anything to anyone. This person of interest, who was not named at the time, Vanessa stated that this person came into the shower and watched her shower. She would follow her when she would exercise, or he would follow her when she would exercise, and would frequently stalk her. April 22nd, Vanessa was reported missing at around 1 p.m. She was last seen wearing a purple leggings, black t-shirt, and black Nike shoes. Her car keys, barracks keys, ID, and wallet were found in the armory where she was working earlier that day. Her cell phone, however, was not recovered at that time. April 23rd, the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division, also known as SID, was notified. April 30th, just a few days later, Vanessa's sister Myra spoke during a press conference saying, "At this point, I just hope someone comes with a concrete answer. They, the Army, can tell us something, anything, but something concrete, not just we're working on it. We're working on it. There has to be something more concrete than that." And almost a full month went by. Almost just 11 days shy on May 19th. So it went from April to May. Sid spoke at that time with a person of interest. His name was Aaron David Robinson. During the investigation, his cell phone records showed multiple calls to his girlfriend that day, and we're gonna touch on that soon. And again, almost a month later, June 9th, a $15,000 reward is offered by the U.S. Army, by SID, and any information regarding Vanessa's whereabouts. 2 days later, on June 11th, Vanessa's story became nationally and internationally known through social media by an actress of her name being Salma Hayek, posting on her Instagram page that she would post a picture every day until Vanessa is found. Even Houston native Baby Bash would even add to the $15,000 reward of $5,000, making it a now $20,000 reward. The League of United Latin American Citizens on June 15th announced that they would actually match the reward. So it was at $20,000. It is now at $50,000. Excuse me. June 18th, the sexual harassment of Vanessa was told. The sexual harassment Vanessa told her mother was brought to light by the Army, and they started an investigation. But according to the Army, those claims were never reported to them. Finally, the family attorney at Natalie Quam discovered that at least 2 incidents of sexual harassment were involving Vanessa. June 18th, a woman in connection to the case is questioned by the investigators. What her and her boyfriend did on that night of the disappearance, she told investigators that they were looking at the stars, that they went out off base and were just enjoying some time together. This all happened near the Leon River, which was later confirmed as a lie. She did not go out to go view stars with her boyfriend. They were not having a romantic date. Obviously, it led to something much more sinister. June 21st, during the investigation, law enforcement officials discovered a cell phone ping when they searched Aaron Robinson's phone near the Leon River with both Robinson and Guillen. So as mentioned, her phone wasn't recovered. However, his cell phone and her cell phone, ironically, were at the same area near the Leon River for over 2 hours. On that same day, on June 21st, EquiSearch was contacted, and Tim Miller was a part of that search. Tim Miller being a representative of EquiSearch. He said that they searched the area multiple times. Unfortunately, they were not able to find anything. 2 months on, this is on June 22nd, 2 months after Vanessa had gone missing, Fort Hood Deputy Commander Major General Scott Eflint took to Twitter and pleaded with the public in helping find Private First Class Guillen, saying, "We want to bring Vanessa home as efficiently, as rapidly as possible. And towards the end, I'm asking for your assistance. We need to bring Vanessa back to her Army family and to her family, and we won't stop this effort until she is found." June 23rd, Sylvia Garcia states the Army officials are convinced now that foul play has been involved. June 27th, two unidentified farm workers report a foul smell out by the Leon River. The two individuals were working on a fence at the time when they reported this. EquiSearch came out to their area, and ironically, this is also an area where they had searched previously. There, they found human remains. At the time, they were unidentified human remains. They did not know who they belonged to or what they were. In a shallow grave near Killian, Texas. This was about 30 miles from Fort Hood. Ironically, this is also where another Private First Class, Gregory Wydell Morales, where his remains were also found. And much like we talked about earlier, I didn't know anything about him until social media. His name popped up several times. Through further investigation, they reported that the two were not linked, although it was very ironic. June 30th, the remains that were discovered by the fence worker, the remains that were discovered by the fence workers were described as being extremely foul as far as the smell. They could not get that smell out of their noses, is what they told. And then on June 1st, Robinson was under an investigation with ties to Vanessa's death. At about 1 a.m. on Wednesday, Aaron Robinson committed suicide. Both U.S. Marshals and local law enforcement were moving in to make an arrest and charge him with the murder of Vanessa Guillen, as the reports came back that the human remains were, in fact, of Vanessa's. When Robinson shot himself, officials pulled up to him, requested that he stepped over to them, and he brandished a firearm and shot himself in the head. Another person was arrested on this day in connection with Vanessa's death, and she, at the time, was not named. She was a civilian and was also a wife of a estranged. She was the estranged wife of a former Fort Hood soldier. Due to the time that Vanessa served in the Army, she was then promoted from private first class to specialist. Later, the family attorney Natalie Kwan discovered the sexual harassment reports were actually reported. However, they were not reported to SID. This SID is a criminal investigation, kind of like the internal affairs for law enforcement. Instead, the Army handled the situation internally because they stated it was not a criminal act. July 2nd, the U.S. Army confirmed the two suspects who were responsible for Vanessa Guillen's death were, in fact, Army Specialist Aaron David Robinson and his girlfriend, Cicely Aguilar. July 5th, Attorney Kwan says in an interview, Army investigators have positively identified Vanessa's remains, but the Army officials had yet to confirm this. On July 6th is when they actually set in stone that the remains were in fact of Vanessa Guillen's. So again, this is I mean, it was hard just to read about.
Yeah.
You know, and then when I looked up online about Cicely Aguilar, this is I don't mean to laugh like it's funny. It's just that's just like a nervous thing. But I found out on the day that Vanessa disappeared and ultimately died, this girl posted 4 photos on Instagram looking like a total slut. Total slut.
Who? Cecilia?
Yeah, Cicely.
I still don't know what she looks like.
She's white trash white girl.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Later, in a 5-page affidavit, Cicely stated and gave a graphic detail as to what happened to Vanessa. So, for those watching, for those listening, if you are not comfortable with graphic details, I suggest you turn your volume down. It was confirmed that Aaron was confronted. Now, this is what Cicely first stated, that Aaron was confronted by Vanessa because of a photo that she saw on his phone, and because she was going to report him to someone about having an affair with another soldier's wife. He just lost it, grabbed a hammer, and beat her to death with a hammer. Again, according to reports that he bludgeoned her so bad they could not identify her through dental records. They could not identify her through facial features. They had to ultimately identify her through strands of hair. DNA. Later during that day, this was after Aaron had committed the murder. He then called Cicely over 25 times to come and meet him at Fort Hood. This all happened in the armory where she was working on April 22nd. What Cicely then states was, when she arrived, she found Aaron with a Pelican case. If no one knows what a Pelican case is, and I know both of you own firearms, so I'm very well aware that you know what a Pelican case is. But for those who don't know, this particular Pelican case is a 3 foot by 3 foot case. This case is typically meant to hold firearms. It's basically just a storage unit that you can carry. And it was reported that Aaron, put her into the Pelican case and stored her inside of the bloody armory before returning later that night and moved the body over to Leon River. And this is where Cicely also states when they went out to go view the stars, they actually went out there to get rid of the body. By doing so, they chopped her up. They dismembered her. I mean, it's really messed up and hard to kind of read. According to EquuSearch, Tim Miller, when he was interviewed on the Nancy Drew show, Vanessa's body was discovered inside of that Pelican case, which appeared to have burn marks. When the Pelican case was discovered, it was covered in concrete, lime, and rocks to be disposed of, and it was also dug into a shallow grave. Phone records indicate that Robinson and Aguilar were near the Leon River that day, as I mentioned, for over 2 hours. So they tried to get rid of Vanessa. I'm not even going to say the body. They tried to get rid of Vanessa. They tried to cover it up. They tried to make it like it never happened, but it did. And Dad, like you said earlier, you know, she has bigger balls than some of us. She obviously she wasn't one to be messed with, because even in death, she was able to get revenge and get, you know, I don't even know if revenge is the right word, but she was able to.
She wasn't going to be put away. Like,
Yeah.
they found her fat. I mean, it's such to say, but like, at least it wasn't an unsolved mystery for 30 years. Like,
Right.
it was important. I mean, sucked that it took a couple weeks to find her, but
Months.
at least,
it took 2 months to find her.
yeah. But I mean, fortunately, the situation, like, at least they were able to find her and bring some sort of closure.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a lot of people. I mean,
A
the
lot.
only thing, I mean, I know there's a lot more you could probably talk about, but there's other stuff I want to bring up in regards to this whole thing. But I'm going to go off on a big tangent, so I won't start yet unless, Joel, you want something to add to it.
Like I said, just jump in, whatever you guys want to say, because
No, I mean, I feel it was like pretty well, like, the overview, because I mean, a lot of information I receive or like look through is like through social media. I try to Google some of it, but I feel like the media online and Google research, it's very biased. So they're only going to give you, they try to like clean up and say like, oh, the Army would never do this, or oh, this was foul play, or oh, this was just reported tomorrow. That's not the case. Because there was some websites that I read that saying that, oh, she was never sexually harassed. It was just something that the parents claimed. She did claim she was harassed, but not sexually.
Right. But she didn't, now I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, she didn't specifically say it was this Aaron guy, correct? Just
No,
in
she didn't want
general.
to name. She was
Right.
just, yeah, she stated, but she didn't give names. I mean, in light of her coming out with her story, a lot of women are starting to come out like, hey, I was sexually
Yeah.
harassed too, and I was threatened like, hey, you're gonna get demoted, or you're gonna get kicked out, or
Right.
you're gonna. There was even one lady who was in the Marines or Navy, I forgot which one. It was like 30 years ago. She was stating that she was raped while on the ship, and then they threatened her like, oh, if you're gonna say something, we're just gonna push you or throw you off overboard,
Yeah.
and no one's ever gonna know about you.
Yeah. And I know that stuff has been going on for a while. I've heard about Fort Hood and other stuff years ago, but like I was telling you, son, when your other buddy was supposed to be on, I worked with a girl at Home Depot years ago, and she was an ex-Marine. And the reason why I asked you about that whole STD thing was when she served in Bosnia, and it's not a secret. Soldiers like to pick up hookers.
Mm-hmm.
They got nothing else to spend their money on.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of misconduct, if you will, and unfortunate abuse, even as towards civilians and the soldiers. And my point is, a lot of these guys, when they're overseas and they get a STD, it's not promised for them to come back to U.S. soil if it's not curable. And
Really?
I found that out through my friend Josie. And she was telling me a bunch of stuff about soldiers in Bosnia who are left there. This is after 9/11 a whole bit, but even prior to that, it was a rule. If you caught an STD off base, wherever you're stationed, and it wasn't curable, you were going to be detained or you are not able to return back to the States.
Kind of like being quarantined.
Right. Quarantine forever, specifically. But what I'm trying to get at is it's not a secret that soldiers, majority of them are men. Men are dogs. You lock them up, for 3 months in boot camp. What's the first thing they're going to want to do?
Yeah.
Let off some steam, pick up a girl. It's obvious. That's where their money goes. But
Yeah.
and it's not a secret that they do that, but it's unfortunate that my stories that I've been hearing, and I don't know if you've heard anything like this as well, Joel, is even though they didn't identify Erin as the person she was referring to, that day when it was her day off when she got called in to go to work to register and repair these small arms with Erin. Erin called her in to the armory. It was her day off. So yes, it's illegal for a soldier to be dating another soldier's wife. Military doesn't allow that. So he could have gotten in trouble. But what my concern is, and I'm not trying to take this on a conspiracy route, but it is something interesting that I found out. It was her day off. He called her in. Just prior to him going to the armory, he was already detained for something else. He was already in lockup for something else. And that's what I'm not understanding. Who was she referring to? And then now you're talking about they never mentioned the name.
No,
So
I
if he
didn't.
was already detained for something else, they let him go. She's supposedly going to turn him in for dating another woman. I mean, this is a really big crime to dismember somebody because she's going to get told on for dating another woman. Worst thing he's going to do is probably serve some, what's that, court martial and get kicked out of the military.
Yeah, he like
Dishonored, right?
Article 15.
Yeah. So I don't see him killing her just for that. That doesn't make no sense to me. To dismember a body like that, and you had a timeline. And from what I was listening to, and I mean, it was a Spanish station, so it was kind of fast. And from what I could put together, where the river is in Killeen, Texas, to Fort Hood,
Killian.
it's Killeen. It
Oh, I
is
thought it was
Killeen,
Killian.
Texas. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Killeen, Texas.
I just mispronounced a
Fort
bunch of
Hood,
shit. My bad. I'm
that's all
sorry.
right.
I'm bad at
Mind
English
you,
and Spanish.
Fort Hood has 50,000 soldiers plus,
Yeah.
right?
It's like its own little town.
It is, yeah, exactly. And it's a 55-minute drive from base to the river. So if this guy did what he did, knocked her out, beat her up, put her in the trunk, then the two women who came forward later that day, or later, a couple of weeks later, and said that, yeah, they witnessed him dragging this tote on wheels, the Pelican case is
And
what
it
they
looked like he
call it.
was struggling to pick it up.
Right. So it's a body, and she's petite, but it's dead weight. So then for him to drive it
Well, hold
55
on.
miles.
Let me stop you there. My whole question about this whole thing, and this is where I'm really confused on, is if he did kill her in the armory, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you've only seen death on movies or on TV, even on CSI. If there's a dead body anywhere, a dead person anywhere, that person will bleed out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if
you
you're,
described her face was mutilated. Where's the blood?
I mean, it should be all over the armory, but as far as I know, and as far as I've seen online, and I mean, I did have to pull up some things from, New York Times and other stuff and Facebook,
Right.
but there's no way you're cleaning up any amount of blood.
Okay, you're right. Take that into consideration. He beat her the way he did. There's that, what's that called? Backsplash, or when they retrieve their arm.
Backsplash.
And it's everywhere. Okay, so to clean that, take her out somewhere, come back, clean it, call his girlfriend who was at work, get her from work. Yeah, get her from work, drive out. And this is what I thought was really interesting. Drove out to the riverbed.
Mm-hmm.
And she says she didn't know what was going on, but when he opened the trunk, in her words, he opened the trunk and I immediately knew it was Vanessa. But you just said her face wasn't recognizable.
Right.
So how would she know who it was? She doesn't know that.
How?
I don't know, like. Go ahead.
My whole thing is how does she know her to begin with?
How does none of it makes sense in general? Yeah, the young lady's dead. We know that for a fact.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rules and regulations that that Fort Hood doesn't go. For example, when soldiers come into the base, they get full body check, and their vehicle gets checked. Right?
Yeah.
That's law. Okay. But when a soldier leaves, they just say goodbye. They don't get anything checked. That should be something that should be corrected from now on. I hope this changes that at all military bases. But none of it is, the timeline doesn't add up to me. From when she went and met up with it, because they do show a picture of her on camera, and that's the other thing. Where's the camera of this dude dragging her out? Where's the video?
Well, from what I've heard, there's no cameras. There's no cameras in Fort Hood. That's just what I've heard.
Right, but does that make sense, dude? They got
No.
cameras at gas stations now. Why are they going to protect gas stations more than they would protect their own soldiers? These people, we depend on them to take care of us.
What were you gonna say, Joel?
No, I was saying, I mean, that's true. Like, my job where I work at, we have like probably close to 100 cameras.
There you
Dude,
go.
actually, you just posted something the other day
Who?
from your Joel. You posted something the other day because someone did something to your car. But the only reason why I'm bringing that up is that you were even able to do that. You were able to see these people at
Oh, I mean,
at your job.
No, it wasn't my job. That was just a warehouse I parked at. It was right next to my my brother-in-law's. But even then, like, there's
A
the cameras
warehouse.
everywhere.
A warehouse.
Everywhere has a camera. Them two girls
Yeah.
who reported seeing this guy drag that, where are their cameras? You can't. I'm sorry, military or not, I don't know any female who don't have a phone.
Yeah. Male.
And
Any
today's
Male,
days,
female.
everybody pulls out their phone
Everybody.
and just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh,
Doesn't
That-
matter.
like when toilet paper went missing, everybody was like, oh.
Yeah, look at Costco. It's everything's empty, and exactly. You're absolutely right.
Everybody
Anything
wants to
for
pull out
some
their
sort
phone.
of exposure. I'm bringing something to the table now. Here's my post on social media. I'm at Costco. There's nothing. Or, I work for a medical facility, and we have no PPE, because I do have a cousin who works for a elderly facility, and they had no mask. They had no cleaner. They had none of that stuff. So that was her big comeback. Why aren't we protecting the elderly? And she had a point.
Yeah.
Where's the money to protect them? But anyway, back to the cameras. There's no camera. There's no video, anything. So I'm not trying to get on a big conspiracy thing. I just think the crime something's not right.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I've
Don't.
never been inside a armory, but I mean, it's like Jimmy said, like if someone were to kill someone, it'll be blood everywhere. And I highly doubt like
Everywhere.
someone will go in there and be like, oh shit, damn, someone needs to clean this up.
With a hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was with a
somebody got to
hammer, right?
report that. Like, yo,
So-
whose blood is this?
Exactly.
What they said from what I read is that he beat her with the head of a hammer. So
Right.
if anyone knows what a hammer looks like,
Mhm.
it is a vertical tool that is arched at the top, and it has two prongs at one end and a flat. How would you describe the head of it? Just a
Wow.
flat.
It's a flat
Spear.
surface piece of steel. Yeah. A
And-
pounding mechanism.
Yeah, a pounding mechanism. I mean, really, if you don't know what a hammer is nowadays,
Yeah.
I can't help you.
But there are different types. But you're right. The purpose of a hammer is to hit something. It's a driving force. You're driving in nails, or you're beating something apart. You're beating something in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. Just that alone just doesn't make no sense. None of this whole thing makes sense. Now I've seen plenty of movies. We all have seen plenty of movies and plenty crime shows. These forensic scientists, first thing they look for is blood splatter.
Any kind of blood, any kind of DNA,
Who
doesn't
cleaned
matter
this
what it is.
fucking thing up? Who cleaned the armory up? And if it's such a if it is a place where they repair and they take inventory of firearms, there's a lot of crevices in there. There's a lot of open spaces. There's a lot of steel beams. There's a lot of tables. There's a lot of everything. He probably stepped on it. So if he stepped on it and walked out, where's the blood at?
Mhm.
That's all I'm asking. And I haven't heard anything yet. I haven't seen, like I said, I've
And
only started taking notes 2 nights ago, and it was enough.
yeah,
And
I don't know. There's still a lot of stuff that isn't being said, and I think what the Army or even Sid or media in general just wanted to do, and this kind of touches on what we were talking about when we first started, is just brushing shit under the carpet, under the rug.
right,
Hey, we found her. Yep, she died. Sorry, she was murdered. That's it.
Yeah, just
uh,
under pressure. That's what they want to do. Just give an answer so that people can stop this whole protest
right,
or whatnot. But all right, cool. Like this is what you guys want. All right, cool. This is what we got you. But
yeah,
yeah, no, none of that makes sense. Like if you
It,
really look into it, and that's unfortunate in the Latino community. We're just at times it's just like whatever we're spoon fed, we'll take it. Which is oh damn, she died. Oh, see, we knew it. We knew it.
and we
We knew
settle
it.
too much. A mom's not going to settle. A
no,
sister's not going to settle. They're going to be raising. Now, not to get off topic, but did you guys hear about the young lady who died a couple of days ago in a mysterious car crash? Who was involved in
yeah,
starting this whole?
I just saw that. Yeah,
I forgot her name. I forgot to write her
she,
name down.
as a
But
matter of fact, she is the one, and I just read about it too. She is the one who started I am the hashtag I am
I
Vanessa
am
Guillen.
Vanessa. Yeah, and now she's
Yeah,
dead.
that's actually where I read a lot of the stories of like
Yeah,
women who were like raped and like because they used that
Right.
hashtag. And I remember just scrolling down and seeing everybody's like story and post about it.
and
Yep.
it's hundreds, and it goes back decades.
It goes a lot. I remember hearing stories about sergeants pimping out their, I don't know, what do they call their underclassmen or their
No,
undergrad? What are
when they're. I mean, I can't really speak on it too much because I don't know very much, but from what I do know, it's private first class or first class.
Yeah, no, but
Only
what
first
does a sergeant consider his soldier? The soldiers
class.
underneath him was, but he actually had a brothel
What?
where he was. Yeah, he was pimping.
So you talk
There's
about the
even
Fort Bragg thing?
Fort Hood, yeah, and
Yeah,
Fort,
it was like a sergeant, and then like hella people got arrested because there was like a whole prostitution thing going
yeah,
on.
I
it
did
was
not know that.
huge.
No, I did
It
not know
was
that.
huge, and underground tunnels. Who functions with underground tunnels nowadays?
Cartel.
Cartels. There's people suspecting a drug ring going through there. That's why I asked you to ask your buddy. There's people that are going into the military nowadays for the training, for the tactical training.
No, not
Yeah,
today. Not even today. There was shit that I was watching years ago, a couple of years
right,
ago.
right.
There's, as a matter of fact, and Tom Segura's podcast, they even brought this up. There's Iranian dudes who talk like cholos, and they're just
Mhm.
lighting shit up. And
Yeah,
again, like I said before, there's a guy. I'd have to find the video. I'd have to find everything on it. But this guy, he not only I want to say Marines, maybe he went to the Marines, went to war, came back to war, came back to his gang, and taught
mhm.
them everything that he was taught.
And
Yeah, I
that's
remember that was a
exactly my
thing a
point.
couple years ago.
Yeah, that's what a lot of these old, I won't say mercenaries, but these specialists, they're getting paid big money to work for these guys across the border.
The
Any
private
any border.
the private
Any border.
security, really.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things we could pick apart about the military service, but for the most part, what they are to do is to protect us, our freedom, first ones out on the line to get in the shit.
And
But
this
there
is
is
where
Fort Hood is notorious for a lot of bad stuff.
I get torn because I am a supporter of the military. You
Sure.
know, I want them to succeed. If something were if Red Dawn were to really happen,
Yeah.
I would like for someone, if it ain't me or you or Joel, someone who's trained to fucking take someone out. Then yeah,
Sure.
but when shit like this happens, it that draws a very thick line. That's support, don't support, and there's really no in between when something like this happens?
Well, I think this young lady who passed, unfortunately, in the condition that it was, is going to bring a lot of attention to that area, to say
Mhm.
the least, the military. And hopefully, I hope it's not just a flash in the pan. I always forget the guy's name who started the Black Lives, the guy who died. What was his name? George what?
Oh, George
George
Floyd.
Floyd.
Well, he
Floyd.
didn't start the Black Lives Matters, but yeah,
No,
he.
the purpose of it was
Oh yeah.
because of, okay, that's not going away anytime soon. If anything, that's fueling these militia groups. I don't mean to say black militia groups, but that's what they are. They're empowered now. They really are. A lot of these militant guys are. A lot of these right wing, left wing, whatever you want to call them, the black community is feeling very empowered right now. And I hope what we are getting out of George Floyd is what everybody gets from Vanessa Guillen.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit of security, just a little bit of relief for our daughters, for our
It's
women.
just kind of like back when the Black Panthers came about in like the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right behind them, the Chicanos, we came up too. We started the Brown Berets.
Yep.
And that's something that you don't really hear of. But yeah, no, we were right there too, just strapped up, and what they would do in Oakland, the organization that they had there, they would walk the neighborhoods, and if they saw like brown people getting arrested or black people getting arrested, they'd be there to support them and tell them what to do and what to say. They were like literally, they were there for the people. They're to support it. And just like this movement, like I was saying earlier, Black Lives Movement, like it's bringing up rising to the Chicanos, and it's time for us to stand up too. And for the way we've been treated, and how it's just kind of like what we're given, and we're just gotta sell.
No, and you're right. Years ago, I have an uncle. I grew up in Oakland too, around the Fruitvale area and West Oakland area, and he used to take me to a lot of these rallies right there on Fruitvale, and it's called East 14th back then. Now it's called International.
E1FO.
So yeah. So I forgot what I was talking about. My uncle Revolution going. Well, we used to go to these rallies, and I cannot remember. Do you remember the name, Joel? There's a place right there on East 14th, right by La Clinica, and it's a Chicano. They used to sell a lot of Chicano literature. It was a support group right on East 14th. Man, I feel embarrassed now. I can't even remember it. Anyway, long story short, it was still there. It's still there, but it's under some other direction. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of stuff coming up about the Black Panthers, the Brown Berets. Years ago, I had an uncle tell me, he's like, Mijo, they're right now you may not see it, but the White Man Tower is gonna fall. I'm like, I'm a 10-year-old kid. What the fuck are you talking about? White Man Tower, And I guarantee you, my uncle who told me that probably doesn't remember, but it stuck with me. It stuck with me for him to now I kind of see what the White Man Tower is. The White Man Tower is going to start to crumble. I hope it's not a civil war type of thing, but I hope there's just more recognition, maybe getting everything more recognizable for on everybody's behalf, all cultures.
I think you're right. I think it'll definitely bring more light. It'll be more recognizable. People will, really get their heads out of their asses and understand what some of the cultures do and what they're really about. People aren't selling drugs all the time. People aren't fighting all the time. Not everyone's in a gang. We here, you, Joel, are a prime example. You have your own business right now, man. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I can definitely see you as an activist. I think we all are talking about this.
Talks like one.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
He's Like you
And
said,
there's nothing wrong with that. He's very proud. He's proud of where he is, of who he is, and
Yeah.
that's where a lot of your guys' generation. And I don't know if you see this, Joel, but there's a lot of people of your age that don't feel that way. There's no more desire to do that. My cousin Hema. You know Hema,
I
right?
know him.
You remember
Yeah.
Hema, Jim?
Yep.
She's very much into Chicano studies, very much into Mexican culture, and she was one of the people. I think she's about your guys' age, but she's very much into that. And there's not too many youngsters that talk about that anymore. I'm
Yeah.
not involved. I'm not involved in it a lot. I don't know what Joel talks about or who he talks to, but I'm assuming it's minute compared to everything else.
Joel.
Go ahead, Joel. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I spaced out for a second.
No, that's fine. I was just my concern or my curiosity was how much influence do you guys have now? Just say for example, half of your generation doesn't really favor to learn and to understand their culture compared to the people that do.
To
And to
understand
It's not really.
understand.
where we come
It's not
from.
really presented. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had limited knowledge about like my culture and my background. It's mostly like what my parents told me and what I've learned.
Mhm.
Just kind of on my own. It wasn't until I really took an elective class at Chabot that I took a Mexican American class, and I remember I
Yeah.
still have the book. I have all my books from that class. I love that. Our assignment, we were supposed to read a book like Mexican American culture, and I remember I read that book, and it started from like way like Aztec times and how Mexicans came
Yeah.
about, how we came here, how we were mistreated. And I remember I was just like blew me away. I was like, what, brown berets? I was like, oh shit, we were doing that. I'm like, holy shit, like it was just so much. And it was like it opened like a Narnia door to me, and I was just like exposed to all this, and I'm like, and a lot of it connected to like what I've seen growing up, and I was like, damn, it really makes sense. But it just sucks because it's like it's not presented to everyone. Like to me, I'm like proud to be Mexican. I'm proud to be my cultura, and I'm proud to speak two languages. You know, and it's just unfortunate because not everybody sees it like that. Everybody's just like, oh, I'm living cool. Oh shit, damn, that sucks. I seen it on social media here. Let me just share it real quick.
Yeah.
But it's like, you got to really understand. There was a book called Out of the Shadows. It's like talks about the poverty in which Chicanos came from, especially women. What when they come to the States, like what they endured, and they were just thought of like hey, you come home, you make food for the husband, and that's it. And the guys, you just work all day, and that's unfortunately that's just like the stigma in Latino culture. But if you like really look and read into it, there's way more than that. Like we brought up so much, especially like not even just going past our culinary, but we brought into like music and our influence. Like there's a little bit of that goes around everywhere, and nobody really sees it. Everybody's just kind of like like, oh, it's just what it is, and it just sucks because if people were to really learn about their past, days would be much different. You wouldn't be getting your news from social media.
No.
You would actually be
No.
getting it from the news.
And that's interesting. I mean, I don't know how old are you? 27, 28, Joel?
27.
27.
He's
I was
just a
brought up in
baby.
the 70s. Yeah, I was brought up in this. I'm 50. Growing up, my first language was Spanish. My dad's is fourth generation Texan. My mom's from Zacatecas. Her lineage is from Zacatecas. The whole way. My point was, growing up, both my parents said, "We're not going to speak Spanish.
Mhm.
You're going to learn English." I spoke Spanish till I was 5. I didn't know English. By the time I was 7, I forgot all my Spanish, all my slang that I was taught. It's not proper Spanish. It's just called slang, house Spanish. Now, if I could go back, if I had a voice at 5 years old, I would have told my parents, "No, I need to keep this language." It wasn't taught to me to have my first language as Spanish. Now, unfortunately, my boys, your brothers, both your brothers, I didn't teach you guys Spanish. It wasn't something that it was a priority to me. Do I regret it? Yeah, I do kind of now, especially to hear somebody like Joel. You know, it was something that he wasn't brought up on, but when he realized what it was, that rabbit hole isn't deep enough. There's not enough that he can find out. And that's obviously, you can see in his face, it lit him up. He's proud to talk about it. Just like I was proud as a kid. No, I don't speak Spanish because I was taught to be speaking English. So it's unfortunate, you know, that influence, it comes and goes. And right now, you guys have a strong influence. You guys are on a strong wave, and I hope it takes you guys many places. I hope it brings out more of understanding our culture. It's not too late for me. It's not too late for my sons, but my two younger boys are about as light as your shirt, man. They are they
Hey,
are light
I'm no
skinned.
exception, man. I'm only dark right now because I just went to the beach not too
You
long.
got a farmer's tan. You got a farmer's tan.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Shit, I mean,
But
I'm
my
cool, man.
point
I'm
is,
pretty light skinned myself.
there you go. But that's my point. You know, once you're exposed to it, and then you start to realize, oh man, it's a whole new life out there. It's a whole new learning experience. And it, you know, I don't know when you went to college, but it took you to take that Chicano studies to realize, holy shit, you know, I am really proud. And I've always been proud of being a Mexican. And I really never even stood what the word Chicano was, or the word pocho meant, until like recently. What the fuck? Arizona, there's a lot of people from the border that come over, much more Southern Mexicans out there. And it was a conversation every day at work, especially when I worked for Home Depot. All these guys buying brick and concrete and wood and all that. I'd speak to them in English, or I'd speak to them on the phone, and they would think I was as white as Javen, you know? And that's
Yeah.
not true. You know, and they'd try to talk to me in Spanish, and then they'd start talking shit about me in Spanish, and I'd come back. I'm like, I understand what you're saying, man. It's not, you know, but it's not for them to be concerned about why I was taught English at a young age. It's my responsibility. It's the reason why I moved to Arizona. There's three things I'm gonna do: become a fireman, speak Spanish, and buy a house. Spoke Spanish, bought a house, and I was all the way to my physical for the Mesa Fire Department before you got sick, and I bailed out of it. So I accomplished what I wanted to do, and I wish I had more years under my belt doing that, like him. It's not too late, Joel. Keep going, man. Proud of you.
Thanks, man. And going back to lineup, it's like I was saying earlier, like, you know, it's being Mexican or Latino. It's like we fight two cultures. Like you were saying, I if I speak Spanish to someone and I stutter, or sometimes I, like, you know, break a
It's
syllable,
choppy.
or, you know,
Yeah.
choppy, or especially me, I have a list, so sometimes it comes out, and you know what, they laugh. They
Yeah.
laugh. They're like, "Oh, this guy can't speak Spanish. Oh, look at this
Yeah.
guy. What a waste! Like, man, like, you have
Yeah.
a beautiful culture, and you don't even know nothing about it, man." And I'm like, "Well, I just mispronounced the word. Doesn't mean like I'm against my culture, man. Just relax." You know,
And
even, you know, my uncles, they're heavy about that. They will rip me a new one, just like, you know, roasted me just because I mispronounced something.
my aunts are much firmer than my uncles. My uncles, like I said, they grew up in the 70s. They were all drug dealers and drug users and alcoholics. So it was a party for them. But my aunts were very much more, they expected more out of my generation. A lot of my generation don't speak Spanish
And
at
and
all.
and going off of what Joel just said, I mean, you guys have your own little stories, but like you just said, that, you know, I wasn't taught Spanish, and the little bits of Spanish that I do know either comes from high school Spanish or what I
Yeah.
heard working at that one job, and that's it. I mean, hell, dude, it's hard. You're the sponsor for this podcast, and I could barely pronounce your damn business.
Yeah,
I'm just,
nah,
Shame on you. Shame on you. You're not getting no credit.
but you know what?
but
That's very common. Just like what your pops are saying right now. Like, for example, being my girlfriend, she's Puerto Rican, and she was telling me about her grandma, how, you know, when they came from Puerto Rico, they spoke Spanish, and you know what? English dominated. English, they stopped speaking English, and I remember her telling me that one day she asked her grandma, like, "Why didn't you ever teach in Spanish?" And she was like, "I wish I would have taught you guys Spanish, but growing up and coming over here, it was like English dominated more, and it was like we had to learn English. Like Spanish was just like, you knew Spanish, it was just like, it was an accessory that you didn't need and, you know, dropped. And unfortunately, her grandma doesn't speak Spanish like she used to. And I remember her telling me one time, because whenever I go over to her grandma's house, I always like try to speak a little bit of Spanish to her, just because I love speaking Spanish to older people. It's like when they see it, it's like, you know, it
It
shines
light
something bright in their
it,
man.
it, it
And they
lights
want to
them up.
give me some wisdom. It's like, oh man, you can speak Spanish here, and then we're
Yeah.
already connected somehow.
Right. No,
It
and
lights them up.
that's because it's so filtered out nowadays. And he's right. Like your girlfriend's parents said, it wasn't necessity, but to hear the elders talk about it, like grandpa and grandma, you know, they hear them talk in their language. It's even kind of foreign to me sometimes because they have their certain dialect. It's their certain
Yeah.
street language, you know, and then like you said, I come across like Alyssa's grandparents when I first met them. They weren't expecting me to speak Spanish, but I introduced myself in Spanish, and her grandma looked at me
Yeah.
like I was foreign, and I expect that a lot because they're so used to us being so, I don't want to say whitewashed, but our dominant language is filtered. We speak English. We're Anglo. We speak Anglo, and that's what we're taught. Correct? Growing
Yeah.
up in school, your
That's what you're
first
taught.
language, your first teaching language is English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same thing with my wife. You know, her family, all of them, they're Salvadorian.
Mm-hmm.
They all speak Spanish. She speaks Spanish, and every time we're over there, she's like, "Man, my Spanish was, you know, it's not it same thing.
It's choppy.
I mispronounced the word. It's
Yeah.
choppy. It's just," and I'm looking at her like, you realize you just spent 6 hours with them and spoke Spanish.
But you know, in those 6 hours, you're in our mind, we're trying to make sure we say or pronounce certain words correctly. That's a challenge. That's a freaking challenge. And you know, and there's the feminine and the masculine form. There's the L and the la. So there's a lot of times you're speaking you're saying something and you're directing it as a feminine sentence, and you'll get a funny look, and they'll correct you. No, that's not how you say it, because just the translation can go either way. It can be mispronounced and misunderstood, or understood in a whole different way, or they're going to be like, "Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?" And I get
And
that
also, like,
still today.
it's also like, you know, if you speak to someone, well, it depends how old they are. If you're speaking to someone older than you, you got to use their thing. And if you're speaking to someone your age and you actually mispronounce it, or like, you know, not mispronounce it, like talk to them like, you know, elder, they'll correct you. But hey, man, don't say that to me. Like, I'm not that old. Like, yo.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the elders, like, if you don't give that, you talk to me with respect.
Yeah.
We've lived many, many years, not saying being disrespected, but having to deal with that, you know. And it's true. It's tough.
Same thing growing up. I mean, our last name, from what I've read up on so far, our last name carries a very strong, there's a weight to it, you know.
It goes back a long time.
And a lot of kids growing up with me, and this is only in Arizona, so this is what I can speak on. I mean, these kids came either straight from Mexico, straight from one of my good friends in Horizon Elementary School from 6th to 8th grade. His name was Marlon, and he came straight from Guatemala. And I could tell you right now, this boy had if you think my accent's white, he was so white. But when he spoke Spanish, and this is just, again, as a kid, but when he spoke Spanish, oh my God, it blew me away.
Yeah.
Blew me away.
That's just like Javen's buddies, some of his younger buddies. I don't expect to hear them speaking Spanish or even Filipino, Tagalog, because he's got a bunch of Filipino friends. I mean, I know it's what I'm going to say is weird, but it sounds foreign because it is a foreign language, but it's not expected to have a 14-year-old kid speaking their native tongue. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. And our last name does go back far. I mean, we're salt farmers. That's where our last name comes from, being
Yeah.
salt farmers. That's
Yeah.
where
Where,
the
where
town,
does your last name come from?
Texas.
Texas.
Salinas is from Texas, and it migrated out. Well, my dad is fifth generation Texan, Tejano. His parents are both from Texas. My mom's side of the family, they're from Zacatecas and Tijuana, but when they migrate New Mexico into Arizona. So the Soto last name, which is my mom's last name, it's huge in Texas, and it means a salt farmer, a salt laborer. The town that's Salinas, the reason why it's called Salinas is because of the salt marshes that are out there. So yeah, this is just something I started picking up ever since Ancestry. What's that other one? 23andMe.
Yeah.
All that other stuff. But yeah, I have stuff from my dad, and I have stuff from my mom's side that goes back to like 1700s.
Yeah.
All on U.S. soil though.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's all on U.S.
it goes back, and I can only
soil.
imagine what her name goes back to. I can only imagine what her family represented and what struggles that they went through, especially her. I mean,
Oh, I tell you what, her mom, and her sisters are not going to be forgotten.
not at
They're
all.
not. I mean, they're going to be in the forefront of this for a very long time. And there's people, and there's a lot of celebrities from Houston, like you said, Baby Bash, Chingo Bling. There's some Instagram personalities that are huge that follow this. Lala, I don't know if you know this Mexican girl, Lala. She's from Houston. Paul Whiskey.
It's a lot of
There's
people.
another guy. There's
A
another
lot.
guy. They're gonna keep that name going because it needs to be. It shouldn't be forgotten for many reasons. Just for the simple fact that this young lady is gone, and on top of it, all the other entities that are involved, military, is huge. That's big enough to keep this going for a long time.
Yeah.
I just hope her mom and sisters, I mean, they're to keep the fight, but I just hope I have faith in they're gonna overcome it because, like, now it's gonna get to the point where it seems like the government's gonna be like, oh, we gave you guys your answers, this guy killed her and this happened like that. So what more do you want? Why do you guys keep doing all this? It's like, all right, cool. What else? You guys can't complain.
Yeah, you found her. That's not the point of finding her. It's not the point of finding her. It's the fact that, the way this, and that's another thing, going back to the way they discovered her. And I know you said that they found the tote. From what I read, and from what I read in the newspaper, one of the newspapers out in Texas, the tote was burnt. All they found was the lid. The lid was partially burnt. And when they chopped her up, they
poured concrete they poured
three
concrete.
Holes.
Yeah. They dug 3 holes. They poured concrete on the inside of the Pelican case. So basically, you're creating a tomb,
a casket,
for her inside of a plastic fucking case. And then
I didn't hear that one. Go ahead.
No, and then they covered her with lime, and that they dug that shallow grave. And from what I heard, they tried burning it first, and then they did all of that following.
Right. And that's, again, the way they chopped her up. It's just from what I understood. They chopped her up, dug 3 shallow holes, put her in, went to a damn Facebook of all places to buy concrete. The concrete they made, from what I read, it technically is a cement mix, but it's called a post mix. And what a post mix is, you just open the bag, dump it in the hole, you put water, and it hardens up. It accelerates itself to harden up. So if that's what they did, I don't see them doing all the other stuff, mixing the lime, the
burning.
There's another concrete. There's a rock mix, there's a powder mix, and then the lime. You mix it all together when you start laying block
and well, that's what confused me too, because in Arizona,
Portland
with
cement. Sorry.
yeah, in Arizona, you used to flip houses, so you used to have concrete. You used to do a lot of different shit.
That's what I'm saying. That
That
I
took a long
understand how
time
that
to
shit
do.
works.
Yeah, that took a
Just
long
digging
time
the
to do.
hole. Just digging the hole. I mean, yeah, she's 5'2", 120 pounds, but that's a 3-foot arm.
Yeah.
She's probably got a 3-foot arm, a 3-foot torso, a 3-foot leg. There's length is length. They had to dig.
I'm over here measuring I'm like,
yeah, right. Right. So if they dug a 3-foot hole and dug in one bag is only 1 cubic foot of a post mix. So these were probably a little bit bigger than what they're saying. So they had to dig that. It took them a while to do this. So the timeline's not making no damn sense for me. Yeah, unfortunately, the bottom line is this soldier is dead. The
But
young
there's something
lady
else
you were
too.
talking about is gone. Oh yeah, and Fort Hood is all over it. They're gonna try to derail this real quick.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? And I'm
expect some shut up money pretty soon.
I'm sure.
Watch your mom and sister get a big check to be quiet.
I'm sure, but because during the Black Lives Matter protests and all of that movement, a lot of statues were coming down. Most recently, one of them in San Francisco at Coit Tower, they just tore down the Christopher Columbus. Yeah, so that one's gone. On top of that, I saw articles, and this is while I was researching specifically her, but I scrolled past them. They were looking into changing a lot of the military-based names, one being Fort Hood, another being Fort Bragg. They're looking into changing these names, so I just find it ironic that, I don't know if it has anything to do with that. I can't confirm, I can't deny. I just find it ironic that they're looking into changing a name, and then all of a sudden someone goes missing, and then after that someone ends up dead.
Well, I don't think there's unfortunately, like the guy you were talking about, the soldier Morales, you're gonna see there's more soldiers, whether it's self-inflicted or something they come upon, and that's a very notorious base for a lot of criminal activity, bottom line. And I hope this power being that she is, people are compassionate about young ladies. I hope they take that and do look into this facility. They're not going to shut it down. They're not going to shut that place down, but hopefully they make some changes.
Hopefully there's changes everywhere, man.
And if you guys go like to the Hayward military base or even Alameda, if you go into where the actual entrances are, or they used to be, they're gated. There are what do you call those enclosures?
Pillars?
No, where the soldiers are sitting. Booths. There are booths where the soldiers would sit in there. You know what I mean? So it's not easy getting in and out of a facility.
Yeah, they got people watching.
I remember going to Alameda, younger, with a friend of mine, to that when Alameda base was active. Even the Oakland base. When you go in, there's military armed right there. This was before 9/11, way before 9/11. And even then, it was pretty hard. And as a civilian, even though the people I was with, their aunts and uncles were soldiers, active duty, I got questioned. At one point, I had to stay outside the gates. So I'm surprised a kid like me had to stay outside back then, to where now it sounds like it's much more free. Like they can just come and go when they want, especially exiting the facility, and they don't get checked. If they would have checked that trunk, they would have probably discovered her, and who knows, maybe she was alive still then, disfigured but alive.
I don't know. It's just it's a really sad story. It's not even a story. It's just a sad. It's a fucked up incident that happened, and
unfortunately, son, I hope it's the last. And I hope, but unfortunately, look, the young lady who died a couple of days ago, who started her movement, I Am Vanessa, now she's gone. I haven't heard anything else about her.
No, me either.
Yeah. So anyway, things need to change. What they are, when it happens, I don't know if I'll ever see it in my lifetime, but I hope things change for your daughter. And I don't know if you have kids yet, Joel, but for your offspring, things are different when you guys get my age.
Me too.
I really do.
Yeah, no. I'm hoping
Well,
for change too, man.
well, thank you. Thank you both of you for being on. Thank you for Joel for being a part of this. I'm gonna
Yeah,
give
you
you
need to plug it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the floor. Do you have anything that you want to promote? Anything that you want to put out there as far as Instagram, business, anything like that?
Well, just trying to stay on topic with we're talking about, like, Vanessa. I wanna just talk about a little saying I like to go by. I like to identify myself as what I came up with a term called delinquent dreamers, and it's something I kind of came up, and a saying that I go by is for those who were made to believe that following it was a crime to follow their dream. And I've incorporated that in some of my art, and the pins that I sell on the back of it, I have that quote, and I also have, like, delinquent dreamers on it. And honestly, to me, like, anyone who follows a dream is a delinquent dreamer, and Vanessa is a delinquent dreamer because against all the struggles all the unheard struggles she endured, she followed her dream, and fortunately, the result of that put her where she's at right now, and that shouldn't have happened. But that's something I like to always push on. Like, anyone who I see following their goals and dreams, to me, I see them as a delinquent dreamer. Just like you wanted to do a podcast, and you brought it upon yourself to learn how everything's done, and now you got me on, and I was like, what, 5 years ago you would have never thought we were doing this.
Probably not.
And
No.
yeah, and that's something I want to push on and push out. Like, if you're over there doing what you want to do, and it seems like people go against it, or someone tries to give you like the quick talk, like, hey, that's not gonna work, man. Just find a job and get by and make money, and that's all you need. Nah, man. Follow your dreams, do what you want to do. Be a delinquent dreamer. Break the rule that you can't do it, because anyone can do it. Anyone can
absolutely.
accomplish your dream and goals.
Yep.
And Vanessa accomplished her dream and goal being a soldier, and I look up to her because to me, I haven't accomplished my dream and goal, and I'm still pushing forward.
Likewise.
Yeah, me too. And I hope her memory isn't lost. I mean, this is something real quick. This is something like Jessica Lynch and Payasawa, the two females who got kidnapped and one killed in Desert Storm.
Yep.
One's still alive and one's dead, unfortunately. But there's no difference between that for a young girl to follow as an inspiration like her. Like you said, she achieved something. As a kid, she wanted to be this representation. And that picture behind you is going to be in internet history forever. Internet's not going nowhere anytime soon. And when Mila's 18 and has to do a subject on Latina heritage, besides her mama and her grandma, she's got Vanessa to look up to.
Yep.
To write about, to speak about, and that's, God, I don't want to make her sound like a martyr, but she is an inspiration. That makes sense?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
She is.
We
100%.
totally get what
she
you're
is.
talking about.
Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, thanks for coming on, Joel. It was a pleasure to meet you. Looking forward to
Pleasure
some
to
more
meet you.
stickers. Some more stickers. And
They definitely got more designs coming in.
yeah, put them out, man. I do like your artwork. I do like it. I like the table.
Yeah.
You're the one who designed the two guys on the table, right?
Which one?
The
Oh,
cartoons.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
funny because
Yeah,
those were my coworkers, and I did them just kind of like making a joke with them. It started off as a quick sketch, and I just kept going into it, and then I added color, and bam, it became something nice. We actually have it framed.
that's perfect. I love that. I even told him, I was like, yeah, dude, that should be our logo. Me holding a beer or a burrito and you doing something else. It's perfect. That's our personality. That's 100%. What this whole podcast is just talking talking shit. Normally, Jim doesn't like me doing any research. He just wants me to talk out my ass, which I do that great in general. So, but for Vanessa's sake, I had to do some research, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, I didn't like what I read, but for the most part, he's right, Jim. You achieved something, and you are an influence now, and your brothers talk about this all the time, and keep going. It doesn't have to be a monetary achievement. It's an achievement. It's a goal that you achieved. Bottom line.
Yeah, and this isn't for monetary purposes at all.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to make hundreds. I'm not looking to be Joe Rogan.
Hey, you know what? In 20 years, if I'm still here, or you're gonna have this. Internet's gonna be saved. When you have kids, I was on a podcast once. This was 20 years ago. Listen, look how good I look. Because we all look young at one time, but the point is, it's gonna live forever, and that's why I do this with you. It's gonna be on forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, real quick, before we go, Joel, please give everyone your business name. Give so people can follow you and purchase stickers, man. Purchase pins.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to get a look at some artwork from a Mexican, Latino, Chicano, my Instagram is Munoz Diseños. It's going to be MOONOZDISENOZ. Hopefully, we're able to put like a link or description or something like that.
We will.
Or something, but yeah, but follow me. You'll see some creative stuff that I came up with. This is like some of my designs right here.
Right here,
I mean, they're inspired from Disney, but I mean that's just what I came. But I got some more stuff that I came up with, and while you're on there, you're going to see my boy Eric Rubio. His Leno714, I believe, is IG, and he's another lingua dreamer, putting in work, another Chicano, trying to get his name up there, and follow his passion, and you'll see a lot of us there, So just go ahead and holla at me on IG. You'll see some of my work, and if you're trying to collab, DM me.
Let's go. Thank you,
Very
Joel.
well said.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for having me on.
Of course. All right, gentlemen. Till next week.
Peace.
Peace. Out of here.
Hasta luego, jóvenes.